History is often told through its greatest triumphs: D-Day, Stalingrad, Midway. But some of the most important lessons come from battles that were costly, unnecessary, and nearly forgotten. The Battle of Peleliu, fought in autumn 1944, is a tragic example, a campaign born from false assumptions and fought with shocking brutality. Meant to be a quick 3-day operation, it became a 2.5-month ordeal that stunned even hardened veterans. By studying Peleliu, we see the terrifying reality when strategy fails and soldiers pay the price. It's a warning about the dangers of groupthink, underestimating the enemy, and the enduring human cost of war. Remembering Peleliu isn't just about honoring sacrifice, it's about learning from tragedy so it's never repeated. By mid-1944, the Allies' island-hopping campaign was in full swing, bypassing strongholds and seizing key islands to close in on Japan. The decision to invade Peleliu came from a strategic debate. General MacArthur insisted the island's airfield threatened his upcoming Philippine campaign. Admiral Halsey disagreed, arguing Japanese air power in the region was already neutralized and Peleliu could be bypassed. Despite Halsey's warnings, MacArthur's influence prevailed. The invasion force was already en route, and canceling was deemed too complicated. Operation Stalemate 2 went ahead, against an enemy whose strength and tactics were dangerously misunderstood. The stage was set for a costly battle to secure a flank that, in reality, posed little threat. The tragic momentum of war proved unstoppable. The American plan for Peleliu was built on flawed intelligence and dangerous assumptions. Planners expected a quick, beach-focused fight, underestimating both the terrain and the enemy's new defensive doctrine. Reconnaissance missed the island's jagged coral ridges and the vast network of hidden caves and tunnels. The Japanese garrison was larger and far more experienced than expected, over 10,000 elite troops led by Colonel Nakagawa. Months of preparation had turned the Brogol ridges into a fortress. The pre-invasion bombardment devastated the surface, but left the defenders untouched in their underground strongholds. American commanders believed the enemy was neutralized. In reality, the real battle had yet to begin. Colonel Kunio Nakagawa was not just a commander, he was a visionary who transformed the very nature of Japanese island defense at Peleliu. His approach would change the course of the battle and leave a lasting mark on military strategy. Instead of relying on the traditional, often suicidal beach defenses that had failed elsewhere, Nakagawa devised a new plan. He lured the advancing Marines away from the beaches and into the heart of the island, where a deadly inland maze awaited them. Over 500 interconnected caves, many carved deep into the coral ridges and reinforced with steel doors and firing ports, transformed the Brogol Mountains into an impenetrable fortress. These caves were stocked with supplies and cleverly concealed from aerial view. Each defensive position was carefully designed to support the next, creating overlapping fields of fire that trapped attackers in deadly crossfire. Hidden escape routes allowed defenders to slip away and regroup, making it nearly impossible to root them out. Banzai charges. From the first landing, Peleliu's environment was as deadly as the enemy. Temperatures soared above 150 degrees, humidity was suffocating, and the coral landscape shredded boots and flesh. The pre-invasion bombardment left no shade, only blinding dust and jagged rock. Water was scarce and often contaminated, leading to dehydration and disease. Supplies ran dangerously low as the battle dragged on far longer than planned. Evacuating the wounded was perilous. Many died waiting for help. Corpses lay in the sun, spreading sickness and horror. The Marines fought not just the Japanese, but heat, thirst, and exhaustion. The logistical collapse turned every day into a struggle for survival. Peleliu became a crucible, testing the limits of human endurance. After seizing the airfield, the Marines confronted a new and unimaginable nightmare: Bloody Nose Ridge. What lay ahead was not just a battle for ground, but a battle for sanity and survival in one of the most harrowing environments of the Pacific War. The fight transformed into a slow, nerve-wracking crawl through a maze of caves, tunnels, and sudden ambushes. Every step forward meant entering the unknown, where danger lurked in every shadow and silence was often a warning. The Japanese defenders, expertly hidden and shielded by thick rock, launched attacks from invisible openings. Their positions were nearly impossible to spot, making every approach a deadly gamble. Each advance meant walking straight into a carefully prepared kill zone. The enemy seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at once, turning the very landscape into a weapon. To survive, Marines were forced to invent brutal new tactics, using flamethrowers and explosives to flush out defenders from their strongholds. The violence was intense, and the methods were unforgiving. The fighting was close, savage, and relentless, often devolving into hand-to-hand combat in pitch-black tunnels. In these suffocating spaces, chaos reigned, and survival depended on instinct. The psychological strain was overwhelming. Many Marines described Peleliu as the most grueling and terrifying combat they ever faced, with exhaustion and fear etched into every face. As the days dragged on, combat discipline began to break down. Mercy vanished on both sides, replaced by a desperate will to survive at any cost. For those who survived, the memories of fighting shadows in a maze of death would haunt them for the rest of their lives. The psychological wounds ran deep, long after the battle ended. Peleliu's ridges were left scarred and silent, bearing the marks of a battle that would never truly heal in the minds of those who fought there. After 73 grueling days of relentless combat, Peleliu was finally declared secure, but the victory came at a staggering and heartbreaking cost that would haunt survivors for years to come. The 1st Marine Division, once a proud and formidable force, was left shattered, suffering over 6,500 casualties, its ranks decimated, its veterans forever changed by the horrors they endured. The Army's 81st Division, sent in to reinforce the Marines, lost 3,300 more men, many of them falling in desperate attempts to root out the last defenders from the island's caves and ridges. Nearly 10,000 Americans were killed or wounded in the struggle to capture just 6 square miles of coral and jungle, a price that stunned even hardened veterans of the Pacific War. The Japanese garrison was utterly annihilated, fighting almost to the last man. But by the time the battle ended, the island's strategic value had already vanished. The airfield, once considered vital, proved useless to the advancing Allies. The invasion of the Philippines went ahead unthreatened, rendering the sacrifice on Peleliu tragically unnecessary in the larger scope of the war. Peleliu became a classic Pyrrhic victory, bravery and sacrifice spent for an objective that, in the end, no longer mattered. The cost in lives far outweighed any fleeting gain. The battle was quietly forgotten by many, overshadowed by larger campaigns, but for those who fought there, it remained a painful lesson in the cost of flawed strategy and failed intelligence. Its legacy is a warning to future generations. Accurate intelligence, robust logistics, and the courage to question assumptions are vital to avoid needless tragedy. Peleliu reveals the terrible waste of attrition warfare and the limits of even the greatest courage when pitted against poor planning and misjudged objectives. Today, we remember Peleliu not just for its tragedy, but for the hard-won lessons written in blood on its coral ridges, reminders of the true cost of war and the importance of learning from the past.